starting out with my face first, and I'm going to be using the MAC Skin Base as a primer, so I'm just going to apply that all over my face. And then I'm going to be taking the MAC Studio Skin Concealer. I'm not using a green concealer for this or anything, I'm just using this in my normal color. You don't want to use a lighter concealer when you're doing this, you only want to use a lighter one when you're highlighting under your eyes. But if you're trying to hide I'm sorry, my dog is like chewing on a bone. But if you're trying to hide dark circles, then you want to use something a little bit darker and orange than your skin tone. And then I'm going to be going in with foundation. I'm mixing these two cream foundations together. The Cover FX one is a lot lighter and the Bobbi Brown one is a lot darker than my skin tone, but I'm doing that on purpose because I'm going to be mixing them. This is going to be like my foundation obviously, but it's also going to cover my contour and my highlight on my face as well. So I'm applying the lighter foundation where I would normally apply like my regular concealer, and then I'm taking the Bobbi Brown foundation, which looks really orange. I'm using this more to bronze than contour, I guess you could say, because I'm using this more to warm up my skin, not necessarily sculpt out my face. So I'm just going to be putting this where I would normally apply my regular bronzer. Then I'm taking this fresh Seaberry oil and I'm putting a drop of it onto my foundation brush. I'm using this to help blend out my foundation. It will just make it a lot easier and faster to blend it out. And it will also sheer out the foundation a little bit. I'm going to be switching between two foundation brushes, one to blend out the darker foundation and then one for the lighter one. And I'm also going to be using a concealer brush just to blend out the smaller areas on my face, like my nose and under my bottom lip. But I'm not going to completely blend out each like darker part and lighter part. But once it's like mostly all blended out, I'm going to wipe off my Sigma F80 brush, and then when there's no product on it, I'm going to be going around to blend everything together. Then I'm taking this liquid illuminizer. This one's from Josie Maran, and I'm just using this to highlight today. So I'm going to be putting it on my cheekbones, my cupid's bow, and above each brow. And I'm using a dual fiber brush. This one's from MAC. It just has shorter bristles than the one I'm going to be using later. And then once I applied it, I'm taking my damp beauty blender just to blend it into the skin. By the way, if you can hear any noises in the background, that's my dog. He's like freaking out, I don't know. But I'm taking this translucent powder now. If you want your highlight brighter under your eye, you can take like a highlighting powder and set your under eye with that. Or if you want like your bronzer darker, you can take a powder bronzer to intensify it, and that will also set it. But I'm satisfied with my highlight and my contour. That's why I'm taking this loose translucent powder just to set the cream so they don't move. But I'm not putting the powder over top of where I put that liquid highlighter, even though it looks like I am. I'm really not. I'm just putting it like right above where I put it. And then for blush, I'm using this one from Hourglass. This blush is really subtle. It's nothing too intense, so I did build it up a little bit. And once I'm done applying it, I'm taking another dual fiber brush. This one is from MAC as well. This is just the one with longer bristles. And I'm using this to blend around my blush. If you want to, you can take a little bit more of that translucent powder on the brush. This will just help blend around it so there's no harsh lines. And then onto my brows. First, I'm brushing them out with the Brow Wiz from Anastasia. I'm brushing the hairs up and then brushing them into the shape of my brow. And I'm going to be taking the brow powder from Anastasia. This is in the shade Soft Brown. And I'm using a flat definer brush from Sigma to fill them in lightly. With this powder, I'm focusing more on the inner corner of my brow because I'm going to fill the rest in with the Brow Wiz. So I'm just using this pencil just to make them a little bit more intense. I can never just use this without going in with the powder first because I don't really have much for brows. They're really light. So I'm just using them this to make them a little bit more intense. I'm focusing mostly on the arch of the brow and then the tail. And then once I'm done, I'm going back in with the other end using the spoolie just to brush them out. This will help blend the pencil together so it doesn't look like too harsh or like I drew them on. Moving on to my eyes now. First, I'm priming them. I'm using MAC's Soft Ochre Paint Pot, and I'm also using this to clean up my brows a little bit. I didn't put any of that translucent powder above my brows because you never want to put a cream or a liquid over top of a powder. Even though technically I did when I was filling my brows, I used a brow powder first and then I went in with a pencil, but I did go back in with a brow powder after just to set it and to do touch-ups. I just didn't put the clip in. And then I'm taking one of the brushes I used to set my face, and I'm not putting any additional powder on it. I'm just using what's left in the brush to set that paint pot. This will help blend the eyeshadows on my lid so it's smooth and not like jaggedy when I go in with my blending brush. Then I'm taking this Prolong eyeshadow from MAC. It's called Sweet Satisfaction, and I'm applying this all over my lid with the E60 brush from Sigma, which is just like a large shader brush. And this isn't like a shimmery eyeshadow, but it's not completely matte either. It has a really pretty sheen to it, and the color is very neutral, so it's perfect for a more basic eye look like this. Then for my crease, I'm taking this light kind of peachy brown eyeshadow from Morphe. This is in the number 13. And I'm just using this just to give a little dimension to my eyes. When I'm doing like a really basic look, even if I'm not using any eyeshadows at all, I'll always just take my bronzer and put it in the crease of my eye just because I like having a more defined crease. Now I'm taking Nylon eyeshadow from MAC, and I'm using this to highlight my brow bone. This is a really intense, like white, yellowish highlight shade, so a little goes a long way. And I'm also putting a little bit on the very inner corner of my eye. Normally I like to put a little bit more on my inner corner, but I'm not going to today because of that blemish I have on like the side of like the top of my nose, kind of. And yes, that is a very painful and annoying place to have one, but putting shimmer over top of a blemish will really make it stand out even more, so you don't want to do that. Then I'm taking mascara and I'm going to apply a few coats to my real lashes. I'm using one from Lancome just because it's what I had sitting here, but every mascara does the same thing. It doesn't matter what brand it's from. And I'm also applying a few coats to my lower lashes right now because I'm not going to be putting any shadow down there. What? I know, right? I'm leaving it completely blank. Now I'm doing my eyeliner, which I normally do before my mascara, I think. But I almost forgot about doing my eyeliner. I'm using Maybelline's gel liner in Blackest Black, and then I'm just applying my false lashes. I'm not sure exactly which lashes they are because all my lashes are in the wrong box. I'm sorry, I think they're from Velour. For my lips, I'm just doing something simple. I'm just using the Dior Fluid Lipstick in the number 389. And then to finish off everything, I'm using the Smashbox Primer Water. And this is the finished look. I hope you guys liked it, and I will see you in my next video.